disturbing events in the deep ocean by the Paint Explorer. Let's see what's going on, bro. I have thalassophobia mud. The ocean is probably the worst thing to ever exist. Like, like, why did y'all make that? No, I'm just playing. I know I didn't make it. But yeah, it's the most scariest thing ever invented. Then the fact that we have less than 10% explored is insane.
Arctic ping. There is a stretch, the 2016 Arctic ping.
What that is?
There is a stretch of Arctic water in northern Canada where something really weird happened. The location is a narrow channel called the Fury and Hecla Strait in Nunavut, one of Canada's most remote territories. In the fall of 2016, Inuit hunters in the area began reporting something unusual. A sound was coming from beneath the water. They described it as a pinging or humming, repeating, consistent, and unlike anything they had heard in those waters before.
It's a ping. It's a ping for a missile. It's a missile strike.
Or humming, repeating, consistent,
I've seen
and
this
unlike
before.
anything they had heard in those waters before. What made it more alarming was what the sound seemed to be doing to the area. The strait had long been a reliable spot for wildlife, particularly seals and whales, which local hunters depended on. However, around the same time the sound started, the animals disappeared, as if they were scared of a huge predator. The Canadian military took the reports seriously enough to send both an aircraft and a naval patrol vessel to investigate the area. They surveyed the strait looking for anything that could explain all of this, but they found nothing. No equipment, no vessels, no anomaly in the animals, no geological activity that could account for it. Several theories were put forward. Some pointed to a mining company that had been active in the broader region, but the company denied any involvement, and there was no evidence linking them to the sound. Others suggested it could be military sonar from a submarine, though no country confirmed operating one there. Some researchers proposed it could be natural, caused by shifts in the seafloor or pressure changes in the ice. None of those explanations were ever confirmed. The sound just stopped on its own. The MV Joyita. The MV Joyita ship set out with 25 people aboard, a mix of crew members and passengers. The voyage was supposed to take about 2 days, heading to a small island group called Tokelau. However, the ship never arrived. A search was launched, but nothing was found, and after a while, the search was called off. Then, 5 weeks later, another vessel spotted something completely unexpected. The Joyita drifting in the Pacific, roughly 600 miles from where it was supposed to be going. It was tilted heavily to one side and partially flooded, but still afloat. When people boarded it, they found the deck largely intact. There were supplies on board. There was food and there was water, enough to last for months. What was not there was any of the 25 people. No bodies, no clear signs.
I was just about to ask, where did they go? Did they ever find them?
Of a struggle in most areas, no logbook. Medical bandages soaked in blood were found on deck. The radio was tuned to the international distress frequency, but had a fault that limited how far its signal could travel. Here is the most weird detail. The ship, even in its damaged state, was not going to sink. It had cork insulation in the engine room that made it extremely difficult to submerge. Any experienced sailor on board would have known that, so the question was why 25 people would leave a vessel that was never going to take them under. No one was ever found, and no explanation was ever confirmed.
Damn.
The Shag Harbor crash. On the night of October 4th, 1967, multiple witnesses along the shore of Shag Harbor, a small fishing village in Nova Scotia, Canada, reported seeing a large object with a row of bright lights descending at an angle toward the water. Some described the lights flashing in sequence before the object tilted and struck the surface with a loud impact. What followed was a patch of glowing yellow foam sitting on the water where it had gone in. The RCMP, which is Canada's National Police Force, responded quickly. Fishing boats went out.
What is that, the Raccoon City Police Department?
The RCMP, which is Canada's National Police Force, responded quickly. Fishing boats went out to the site, expecting to find a downed aircraft and possibly survivors. They found the foam, but they found nothing else. No wreckage, no debris, nothing that would indicate what had hit the water. The mystery was so strange that the Royal Canadian Navy was called in. Divers searched the seafloor in the area, but they came back with nothing. The official investigation that followed is notable for one specific reason. The government report on the incident formally described the object as unidentified. Declassified Canadian government files confirmed that the investigation took place and that no explanation was reached. What descended into the water at Shag Harbor and where it went was never officially determined.
What the hell?
The Nimitz encounter. In November 2004, the USS Nimitz Carrier Strike Group was conducting training operations off the coast of Southern California. The USS Princeton, a cruiser in the group, had been tracking unusual objects on its radar for about 2 weeks. Finally, on November 14th, 2 Navy fighter jets were sent up to investigate a contact the Princeton had been following. Commander David Fravor was one of the pilots. As he approached the designated area, he looked down at the ocean below and noticed something incredibly weird. A large area of the water surface, roughly the size of a Boeing 737, was churning and frothing white, as if something just beneath it was causing the water to boil from below. Above that churning water there was an object, white, elongated, roughly 40 feet long, with no wings and no visible means of propulsion. It was moving erratically, hovering over the exact spot where the water was disturbed. When Fravor descended toward it, the object reacted to his approach and then accelerated away at a speed he said was unlike anything he had encountered in his career. When it left, the water disturbance disappeared too. There are no official explanations for all of this. It's likely the craziest thing those officials have seen, but one of the craziest things you'll see is actually today's sponsor. A figure a month. AI models like AI taking underwater and watching the darkness around you slowly fill with thousands of red flashes, moving toward you all at once. In Spanish, locals call them Diablos Rojos, which translates to red devils, because of their ability to flash deep red across their entire body in an instant, which they do when they are agitated or attacking. They are the Humboldt squids, which can grow up to 6.
I was just going to say, how big are they? 6 feet long, and they glow red, or they flash red lights in the water. Yeah, that's exactly why they need to ban the ocean from existence.
6 feet long and weigh as much as 110 pounds. They have sharp beaks, and the rims of their suckers are lined with serrated, tooth-like edges that cut into whatever they grab. They are fast, strong, and they do not hunt alone. But here comes the most disturbing part of all of this. They move in swarms, sometimes numbering in the hundreds or thousands. Researchers observing them have documented coordinated behavior during hunts, with groups working together to drive fish toward a point while others attack them. They communicate during these hunts using rapid, pulsing light patterns produced by their own bodies. Divers who have entered the water near active swarms have reported being grabbed, pulled downward, and in some cases dragged away from their boats. Equipment has been torn off. Several documented attacks on divers have required intervention to escape. They have also been expanding their range, now appearing in waters much further north than they were recorded even 2 decades ago. The Gulf of Compat Anomaly. Most underwater discoveries are explained fairly quickly. A shipwreck, a geological formation, a known natural process, etc. This one, however, has been unresolved for over 2 decades, and it could actually change what we know about human civilization. In 2001, a team from India's NYOT was conducting surveys in the Gulf of Compat, primarily looking at pollution levels in the water. They were using sonar equipment to scan the seafloor when they picked up something unexpected below them. The images showed large structures sitting on the bottom of the Gulf, about 130 feet underwater. The formations appeared organized with what looked like walls, open areas, and a layout that seemingly did not match the random shapes of natural rock. 2 sites were identified, each stretching several miles in length. The team sent equipment down to collect samples from the area, and what came back up shocked everyone. Pottery fragments, carved pieces, construction materials, and even human bones and teeth. Some of the recovered material was sent for carbon dating, and the results suggested an age of approximately 9,500 years. If that date is accurate, the structures would predate every known ancient civilization on record, including the earliest cities in Mesopotamia, which are considered the oldest confirmed urban settlements. There's some controversy around all of this. Some scientists pointed out that the method used to collect samples could not guarantee the artifacts came directly from the structures, and some geologists argued the formations might be natural, shaped over time by underwater currents. No formal excavation has ever been carried out at the site. The structures are still there, and they have never been conclusively identified as either man-made or natural. The Baltic Sea Anomaly. In the summer of 2011, a Swedish exploration team called Ocean X was scanning the floor of the Baltic Sea. Then, they received a really peculiar signal. What came back on their screen stopped the team cold. The object was roughly 60 meters across, which is about the length of 4 city buses placed end to end. Its shape was circular, with what appeared to be raised edges and a flattened top. Running behind it along the seafloor was a long track stretching about 300 meters, as if the object had slid or been dragged across the bottom before coming to a stop. The team returned the following year with divers. What happened next was even weirder. When divers and equipment got within a certain distance of the object, electronic devices began to malfunction. Cameras cut out, and satellite phones stopped working. When the team moved away from the object, everything functioned normally again. Samples were collected from the surface of the object and sent for analysis. The results showed materials consistent with certain types of rock formations, which led to conclude it was likely a natural glacial deposit shaped by thousands of years of ice movement and pressure. However, that explanation does not fully account for the reports of electronic interference from the divers. The Baltic Sea anomaly has this main theory, but it has never been fully excavated or officially closed as a 100% solved case. The 1978 Bass Strait disappearance. On the night of October...
How do these big objects just disappear though? Like that's my thing though, bro. Like you telling me, bro, all these 100 feet, 80 feet, 50, 60, 70 feet long operated machines just disappear out of nowhere. Y'all just can't find them. Like I know how big the ocean is though, but like dang, it just feel like a lot of objects just go missing like that.
21st, 1978, a 20-year-old pilot named Frederick Valentich took off from Melbourne in a small single-engine plane. His route took him over Bass Strait, the stretch of open water between mainland Australia and the island of Tasmania. It was a routine flight, and he had done similar ones before. Then, something weird happened. About halfway through the trip, he contacted air traffic control in Melbourne. He asked if there were any other aircraft in the area flying near him. The controllers checked and reported that there were none. Valentich said that was strange, because something was above him, and it was not a plane he recognized. He described it as large, moving fast, with a shiny metallic surface. He said it was circling him, passing over his plane repeatedly at low altitude. Then he said his engine was running rough. He said the unknown object was hovering directly above him and was not an aircraft. Those were his last coherent words, because a few seconds later, the radio picked up a long, scraping metallic sound, and then the transmission went silent. Search teams covered a wide area of Bass Strait for days, but they found nothing. No wreckage, no fuel slick, no debris, no body. Frederick Valentich and his plane simply were not there anymore. The main proposed theory is that Valentich experienced what pilots call a graveyard spiral. This is a condition where a pilot becomes spatially disoriented, usually when flying over dark water at night with no visible horizon to reference. The plane enters a descending spiral without the pilot realizing it. The metallic scraping sound heard in the final transmission could have been the engine over-revving as the plane entered a steep dive. At the speed a spiraling aircraft can reach before impact, hitting the water would leave very little recoverable wreckage, which would explain why nothing was found. The lights and object Valentich described may have been Venus, which was unusually bright and low on the horizon that night, or his own navigation lights disorienting him. Although there's something else we haven't talked about. Several witnesses on the ground reported seeing an unusual green light moving over the strait that night, regardless of how credible those accounts may be. The Australian Department of Transport investigated and officially listed the cause as unknown. The Trieste window crack. This one's different from the others, as it's not a mystery, but it's such an insanely creepy ocean event that I had to include it in the video. The Trieste was a small craft built to withstand the crushing pressure of the deep ocean, and on January 23, 1960, Jacques Piccard and U.S. Navy Lieutenant Don Walsh climbed inside it and began descending into the Challenger Deep, the lowest known point in the Mariana Trench and the deepest place on the surface of the entire planet. At the depth they were targeting, the pressure reaches approximately 1,100 times what you feel standing on land. The Trieste was engineered for exactly this, with a steel pressure sphere several inches thick surrounding the two men inside. But then, the most scary thing they could have imagined happened. Partway through the descent, there was a sharp, loud bang that shook the vessel. After checking their instruments and looking for signs of failure in the critical systems, they identified the source. One of the outer plexiglass viewing windows had cracked under the pressure. The window was part of the outer structure, not the inner sphere keeping them alive, but a cracked window on a vessel descending into the deepest water on Earth is not a minor detail. They decided not to turn back. They continued the descent and reached the bottom, making them the first humans to ever touch the floor of the Challenger Deep. The 1963 Puerto Rico Trench, USO.
And nobody can go back.
According to second or third-hand accounts relayed to a writer, in 1963, the United States Navy was conducting a large military exercise in the Atlantic Ocean near Puerto Rico, close to one of the deepest underwater trenches on the planet. And during the exercise, sonar operators across several ships detected something unidentified moving underwater. What completely shocked everyone was the speed. It was tracked moving at approximately 150 knots through the water. To put that in context, the most most advanced nuclear submarines of that era could reach around 20 to 25 knots when submerged, and even today, no publicly known submarine comes even close to 150 knots. It was then tracked descending extremely rapidly to 27,000 feet. The pressure down there is roughly 12,000 pounds per square inch. To understand how much that is, imagine a fully grown African bull elephant balancing its total body weight on one single coin. It was not a single reading from a single ship that could be dismissed as equipment error, since multiple sonar systems on multiple vessels tracked the same contact over an extended period of time. No first-hand witnesses have ever come forward publicly, and we don't have any primary documents, official Navy logs, after-action reports, or declassified files matching the details, but it's still one of the most popular USO anecdotes. If you want to discuss this video or suggest an idea for the next one, join my Discord. Link in the description.
Yeah. I should be tripping out, bro. Yeah. The W video though. That should be tripping me out, man. Like, you know, these big ass machines just be going missing like that, bro. Shit crazy to me.